Thank you very much.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Let's go.
Welcome to today's roundtable discussion with our host, Building America's Future. This is their 50th stop on America's Future tour. My name is Mayra Flores. I am the first Mexican-born congresswoman sworn into Congress in 2022, and I'm here today to moderate this important discussion. Building America's Future is a 510c4 that was created to inform and empower Americans to take ownership to our country's policy direction and demand that our government at all levels enact policy reforms to improve the lives of Americans. We need to make America's future great again. Today, we are joined by some very special guest, President Donald J. Trump.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Army Captain Sam Brown, U.S. Senate candidate here in Nevada. Bob Unanue, CEO of Goya Foods. Additionally, we are joined by 6 Hispanic Americans from this community who have been impacted by the Biden-Harris administration's policies. They're here to show their stories and how this administration has negatively impacted their lives and has stopped them from moving forward. And we're here to change that. Lydia Ruiz Dominguez, a mother, author, Air Force veteran. We have Brian Ursua, a husband, father of 5, proud Teamster, Local 631 member. We have Elias Trujillo, and now we have also Linda Fornos. We have Iris Ramos Jones. And we have Rafael Arroyo. We know President Trump has built one of the strongest economies ever, lifting up all Americans, especially the Hispanic community. Under President Trump's leadership, the Hispanic community saw a record low unemployment and low poverty. As part of this immediate plan to help our economy recover from this disastrous economic policies from the Biden administration, Harris administration, President Trump has pledged to eliminate taxes on tips so that Americans can keep more money in their pockets. I want to share my father's story, Saul Flores. Back in 2016, he was with her. And in 2020, he voted Republican for the first time. And he voted for President Trump because under his administration, his trucking company was thriving. He saw that his policies empowered his company. And he said, even though I still don't agree with him on everything, I love his policies, and I will be voting for him in 2020.
Thank you.
But he went from being with her in 2016 to voting for president in 2020, and now he's all in for President Trump. And I know that is not just my father. Many Hispanic Americans have seen what the Biden administration have done to their lives. We all have less money in our pockets. We want to be able to take our children to a vacation. We want to be able to take care of our families. And that's exactly what President Trump will do when we get him reelected in November. And now, speaking, Bob Unanue. Before we get to our important discussion, I'm thrilled to be your moderator today. And I would like to introduce a great American and the CEO of Goya Foods, Bob. He's a leader with a spine of steel and a heart of gold. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Bob Unanue.
Thank you, Myra. And you're so important for Texas. I've been down with you a couple times, and I remember you telling me your father said you convinced him to vote your way with God, family, work, freedom. He said, you asked him, why did you vote conservative, Republican? He says, my party has abandoned me. They've abandoned him. And they've abandoned many Latinos. And that's why we're here today, and our future is at stake. I want to also recognize Captain Sam Brown, who at a young age these are people who put their life on the line. And when I see servicemen, I say, not just thank you for your service, thank you for our freedom. We have freedom, we take it for granted. And if we don't get it back, we're going to lose this country. And that's why we're sitting next to the greatest president of our time, Donald J. Trump.
Amen.
Thank you. The song goes, those were the days, my friend. Some of you are old enough to remember that. I thought they'd never end. We'd sing and dance forever and a day. And that's where we were under President Trump. I call them days que buena, so good. I call the days we are today, que mala. How bad has it gotten? How bad has it gotten? It's gotten bad. Under President Trump, our economy was cruising. The best economy ever. Prosperity. We had a safe world. No wars. We had no inflation, virtually no inflation. We had freedom. Under President Trump, our real average weekly wages were up 8.4%. I'll say later on, under this administration, it's down 3.4%. We cannot keep up with the cost of this administration that is hammering not only the Hispanic community, the African American community, all communities. The border was secure. Illegal immigration was at a minimum. Yesterday, the CPI index came out hotter than expected at 2.4%. And this is on top of year after year. And we've had over the years 5.4% inflation. This is on top of historic inflation. Overall prices are up to 20.5%. But let me tell you, I'll steal a phrase from Mr. President, that's fake news. For Goya, it's up more like 50%. We will go out to buy cans. We do a lot of canning. Come to Brookshire, Texas, and we'll show you how we can at 2,000 cans a minute. Very efficient factory. Cans went up 64%. Transportation, ever since the Harris-Biden war on fossil fuels, day one, the Green New Scam, the pulling out of Afghanistan, we showed so much weakness, they invaded Ukraine. Ukraine is a breadbasket for Europe and Northern Africa. They have wheat, 30% of the world's wheat, 20% of the world's corn, 50% of the world's fertilizer. It tripled the cost of fertilizer. What does that do to our crops over here? It goes way up. Under Kamala, real average wages You know, I don't say that, to get a buzz or as an insult. It's reality. She is bad. She's bad for this country. She's bad for Latinos. She's bad for all of us. Real average wages were down 3.4%. And wages have been up. I mean, our wages have, in warehousing and all that distribution, have almost doubled. But they're still not keeping up with the cost of this administration, the burden they put on our society. The working class, the middle class, Hispanic and Black, African American populations have been hammered, exploited, used, and abused. It's cost the middle class $2.4 trillion since March of 22. The average middle class household lost $33,000 in real wealth. And you need a six-figure salary in about less than half of the country to buy a home. That was day one. But for me, and we can go on and on about this economy, we've been hammered, but for me the biggest issue under this administration, which I consider evil, and I'll tell you why, is the Hispanic and African American communities being exploited, used, and abused under the greatest slavery in the history of the world. My friend Ben Carson, who's also a friend of the president, said there's more slaves in the world today than in the history of the world. And why is that? Because the only industry that's flourished over the last 4 years is human trafficking and drugs. We are not just inviting people in, we're bringing people in. Let's ask some of the NGOs. We are actively bringing people to this country for exploitation, millions of people. Last year, on April 26, 2023, Tara Lee Rodas testified before Congress that the U.S. is the middleman in the trafficking of children. Last year, there were 85,000 children lost. Not lost, they were sold. In my opinion, they were sold. And we're the middleman, as Tara Lee said. Recently, the Inspector General of HHS, Health and Human Services, under Javier Becerra, and Alejandro Mayorkas, Latinos, abusing Latinos, because the Latinos are the biggest target of trafficking. And women are 70% of people trafficked. Children are 25%. Imagine you have a woman taking care of our border, abusing these children. The Inspector General says that 325,000 children are missing. Again, they're not missing, they've been sold. This is pure evil. It's a spiritual war. Back 4 years ago, on July 9th, 2020, President Trump invited me to be on the White House Commission for Hispanic Prosperity. This administration fired me. I guess they don't believe in Hispanics or prosperity for Hispanics. But I said the word blessed. It came on my lips from the Holy Spirit. And I got in a heap of trouble, a boycott. But the president supported me. I guess you can call for a boycott. You can't support a company. But he supported us. And we did so well. AOC, who had called for a boycott, we named her Employee of the Month for improving our sales so much. But, and as a Latino, I'm probably going over the 3 minutes. I'm sorry, Myra.
Thank you, Bob.
God placed his hand. God's hand was placed on Donald J. Trump. Then, and continues to, and he will not let go. Look at July 13th at 6:11 in the afternoon. St. Paul's letter to Ephesians. Put on the armor of God in this fight against evil. God's hand is on President Trump. He won't take it off. And he's going to bring us to prosperity, to safety. And he's going to lead us closer to God and make America great again. It is my highest honor. You might know this guy. He's Gentleman sitting next to the former, current, and future President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you both. Thank you very much. Thank you both, and thank you, everybody. And, would you like to take over? You want to go? Would some people like to speak first?
No, we want you.
Okay.
We want everyone here is ready to hear from you.
Okay, good. That's good. Well, thank you very much. And I have to say, with Bob, we became good friends. I didn't know him before the White House, but I got to know him, and he represented Hispanics. He represented a lot of people having to do with manufacturing, business. He's a great businessman, and he had a very interesting situation. The radical left in our country put tremendous pressure on him not to be involved with us, meaning Republicans or conservatives, whatever, people with common sense, I always say, because essentially we're the party of common sense, which becomes a better and better term as time goes by, with men playing in women's sports and open borders and people coming into our country totally unvetted and unchecked and all of the ridiculous things that you see today. But we are the party of common sense. So Bob has a lot of common sense. And he has a great company. It's a great company, but they were putting a lot of pressure. And I felt very badly for him because they were hitting him hard. They had pickets, they had everything. They were trying to extort him, essentially. And we found out he can't be extorted, and he fought very hard. And then a strange thing happened. A strange thing, his numbers went through the roof. He was selling much more food instead of less food. And they do that. They play that game. It's probably not even legal what they do, but they go after businesses. And not everybody's like Bob, where they're in a position to fight. But his company went absolutely through the roof because of it, because there's tremendous support. We have far more people, far more support than the other side. And really the term "Make America Great Again," we are the party of wanting to make America great again. Right now we have a country it's a nation in decline. We're sadly a declining nation, and who would have thought we would have had to say that? But if you look at our borders, they're horrible. They're just. I probably won in 2016 because of the border. I fixed it very quickly, became very, very good, and turned over a great border, and they just destroyed it from the moment. I always say that my world's favorite chart, the chart I look to the right on, but that was basically a chart on immigration. And that was the lowest immigration we'd had in forever, I think, in recorded history. And then that was my last day in office. And then it became like a rocket ship, that chart, and it went up to the moon. And it was very sad to see all the work that we did, but we'll do it again. The only difference is this is many, many times worse than it was in 2016, Bob. In 2016, we had something that was within reason. We didn't have people with no talent, no brain power, people with that maybe hate our country in a certain way, because you try and figure why would they want prisoners, gang members, drug dealers? Why would they want murderers, by the way, 13,099 murderers? Why would they want these people in our country? Is there any reason for it? You know, usually when Bob or I or some of the good business people around the table, and in the audience I know a couple of great ones. We have Wesley Hunt, a great congressman, by the way. Thank you, Wesley. A great one. He's a great congressman. But we always say, you know, we want to know what the other side is all about. Where are they coming from? This is one of the few times you really say, what are they doing? Where do we benefit? And I guess, you know, you look at it and you say they're not smart, but they're smart, they're cunning, and a lot of them are evil. But you say that maybe they hate our country. I believe they could be some of that, because, you know, when you allow drug lords to come into our country, when you allow the people that they're allowing, and by the way, they're emptying prisons out all over the world. This is no longer South America. This is the entire world. From Africa they come, from Asia they come, the Middle East, South America, yes, but it's not exclusive South America. This is all over the world. The Congo, we have a lot of people coming in from the Congo in Africa, and It's incredible. But you just say, why? Why are they doing it? And it has to be evil intention. And then you realize that so many other things that they do, like transgender operations, where prisoners, people that are being held as prisoners, if they request a transgender operation, they get it. Now, who would even believe this is possible? And she was one of the ones, Kamala. We don't have to talk about Joe, because Joe was overthrown. He was overthrown as president of the United States. First time that's happened. We call it a coup. I just say he was just overthrown. It's simpler. People say, what's a coup? A coup is you were overthrown. And I believe he likes me more than Kamala. But, you know, what do I know? How would I know that? But I think he likes me actually a little bit, about this much more than her. But they're having a lot of fighting going on. And they asked her a question the other day on one of these ridiculous shows. And they said, well, what would you have done different? What would you have done differently? You know, she complains what she's going to do, And I always say, why didn't she do it? It's so easy. You just sit back. Why didn't you do it? You had almost 4 years to do it. But she's worse than Biden, I'm telling you. He's more intelligent than her. Can you believe this? Can you believe? Okay? And it's not that I'm a fan, but I think what happened to him was terrible. He had 14 million votes. She came in last because she was the first one to drop out of the race. She dropped out. There were like 22 people, and she dropped out. And it's a terrible thing. I mean, you talk about a threat to democracy. That's a threat to democracy. But the biggest threat to democracy is incompetence. And we have incompetent people leading our country, and we have problems other than borders. We have the biggest problem is probably the possibility of World War III. And that would be a war like no other, with all of the weaponry that you have today. You have weapons the likes of which this world has never seen before. So we have people leading us that are not the right people. And, you know, we had no wars. I finished off ISIS. We had the best economy ever. We did great. And for the Hispanic Americans, because that's why we're here, I want to just say household income for Hispanic Americans. I asked them, give me some of the just basics, reached an all-time high. So your household income was the highest it ever was. The Hispanic American poverty hit the lowest rate ever. So the lowest rate of poverty, the highest rate of income. So far we're doing good, right? That's not bad. After that, what else? You almost don't have to say anything more. The household wealth of the median Hispanic family grew by 65%. Think of that one. Home ownership among Hispanic Americans reached the highest level ever by far. And we cut taxes and regulations for Hispanic-owned small businesses and people. And now we did this for everybody, and everybody did better, but Hispanic Americans did just right at the top. Now, let me tell you what is happening at the border, because it's affecting you probably more than anybody else. African Americans, Hispanic Americans, people are pouring in and taking your jobs. And your jobs are being taken, and that's all because of Kamala and Biden. And really, in this case, her, because he put her in charge of the border, and then it was 4 o'clock and he went home and went to sleep. You know, that was it. He made her the border czar, right? Now she says she wasn't the border czar. And they come out with different excuses, and because there's no excuse for this. We have the worst border in the history of the world. There's never been a border in the history of the world like this. If it was a third world country, because they had no border like this, because they'd fight them off with sticks and stones if they had to. This is the worst ever in the history of the world. And we had the best ever in this country's history. And we had a strong border. We had great people. Tom Homan was one of my advisors, and Brandon Judd was unbelievable. And we have people today that are great. And, you know, the amazing thing, they want to do their job. They really want. It's easier for them not to do their job, I assume, but they want to do the job. They see what's coming in and what's happening. But from you heard the numbers from think of that family income median 65% increase. Who ever heard of a number like that? But it's being taken away from you by them because of the border, because people are going to come in and they're going to take your job, and that's what they're doing, and that's what's happening. And if you look at the numbers today, the numbers are way down from where they were. And for the African American community, it's actually a step even worse. So I just want to let you know, and that's the way it is. She caused a tremendous inflation, $29,000 per family. Kamala launched a massive IRS initiative to take more tip money away. You know, no tax, right, on tips. And that was a big deal. And then she goes out a few weeks later, maybe a few months later, and she said, I have a surprise for you, no tax on tips. We sent her a MAGA cap. But she won't, remember, she won't be able to do it. Just like they were unable to fulfill, they were, for 4 years, they said, we're going to cut the tuition, the debt on colleges and schools and all of this. We're going to cut the debt, student loans, we're going to cut them, we're going to give you. It failed. I mean, all that work, all that talk, it was all for nothing. It failed. And, you know, a lot of people had hopes, and it failed because they don't get done what they're supposed to get done. They get done nothing good for the country. The only thing they're successful at is wasting money on the Green New Scam. And you know the number, Bob, the actual number is $93 trillion. That's what they want. And this was done by AOC +3. I said, oh, did you study the environment? No. They never even studied it. They just come up. They want to do things like no more cows and no windows in buildings. They have some wonderful plans for this country. Honestly, they're crazy, and they're really hurting our country badly. But I just want to say it's been an honor. I've had such great support from the Hispanic community and from the black community. The highest level ever, and there are those that say we'll end up breaking the 50% mark, which is really an incredible when you think that 10 years ago or 6 years ago, and even when I first ran, you didn't know me very well, and you got to know me well. And the second, we did great in 2020. We did better in 2020, frankly, than we did in 2016. Much better. We got millions more votes. But we did very well with the Hispanic, and now we're doing record numbers. And I think we're going to have a tremendous election. I think we're going to have an election like no other. I think this is going to be the biggest and most important election in the history of the country. And a big beneficiary will be the people in this room. They've been just so great. You know, Hispanic people have tremendous, they say you can't generalize, but I think you can. They have wonderful entrepreneurship, and they have, you have such energy. Just ease up a little bit, okay? Ease up. No, you have great ambition, you have great energy, very smart, and you really do. It's like natural entrepreneurs. That's why the small businesses in the country, I mean, they are largely the number of Hispanic Americans operating small businesses and big businesses too, very big businesses, running them for stockholders. So it's an incredible group of people. It's an honor to have you on my side. We are getting numbers of Hispanic Americans that nobody ever thought possible. And we're up in all of the polls. Well, it looks like we're leading just about everywhere now. We're leading I think all of the swing states that came out this morning. We're leading all of the swing states. And part of that is, she can't answer questions. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. We can't have that. We had that 4 years ago, and we had that for the last 4 years, and we can't do that anymore. We're not going to survive as a country. We're in very dangerous shape. We're in very bad shape as a country. You look at all of the things that are happening that are so bad, and it's just something we can't take. So we are going to be with you. You've been with me. Get out and vote. And again, November 5th, I believe, is going to go down as maybe the most important day, I hope, right, Mr. Congressman? But I hope it will, because it'll show what we do, but it'll be the most important day in the history of the country. And, I said that with 2016, and I meant it, but this blows it away, because 2016, we had problems, but we didn't have this kind of a problem. We have a problem of survival of our country, because we're run by very stupid and probably evil people, and we can't have it. So thank you very much, Bob. I hope that's a positive message. Is that a positive message? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. President. Let's make it clear to the Hispanic community that the Biden and Harris administration have killed our economy, destroyed our border. They have destroyed everything good that we have in our country, but they have not destroyed us. And we're going to give President Trump the biggest win in November. Hispanics are. Mr. President is going to have the biggest support any Republican president has ever had from us. I truly believe that. But what's most important for us is our values. And Kamala Harris is destroying our values of family, of faith. And if we want those values to live in our children and the second generation, it's important that we instill those values, but that we also elect those that represent our values, and that is President Donald Trump. I think it's important that we also give an opportunity to Captain Sam Brown to introduce himself. This race is very important for your state, so I want to give him an opportunity to say a few words. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making time out of your day to be here, but also thank you for running. I know it's a huge sacrifice, and thank you for everything you've done for our country. I would not be here if it wasn't because of men and women like you that served in our country, so thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you, President Trump, for being here, for demonstrating to the world just how important Nevada is, how important the Hispanic voters are, how important this community is. We're so grateful that you're with us today.
Thank you very much. Thanks, sir.
Now, look, success is not promised in life. Hardship is something that none of us can avoid. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the American dream. Because most of you know of me as a veteran, as someone who's put on the uniform, served, sacrificed for this country, and I was happy to do it. I was honored to do that. But like so many of us in this room, I've also got a story about pursuing the American dream. You see, after I recovered, and I had to figure out who I was outside of that uniform, I went back to school. I got an education around business. And just because you do those right things, you check those boxes, does not mean that you're going to find that success. And so in 2016, when President Trump was elected, and I was happy to be a proud President Trump supporter, over those next couple of years, with the optimism of seeing what he was doing for our country, lowering our energy costs, lowering unemployment, cutting taxes, we saw the border secured. We saw optimism. A hope for the American dream was something that we could all grab onto. It was at that time that I decided my next step in the American dream as a husband and a father with 3 school-aged children was to start my own business. But again, for those business owners out here in this room, we know that's not always easy. And my journey started working in a fulfillment center. When I walked in here today and I saw the racks up against the wall and the cardboard boxes and the pallets, I thought, gosh, it almost feels like home. Because for 6 months as I was starting my business, the business that provided pharmaceutical services to veterans when the VA hospital wasn't able to, I worked in a fulfillment center. I packed up those boxes. I loaded them onto the semi-truck trailers. I did that for 10-hour shifts 4 days a week. And I went home at night, had a meal with my family, and went to work on my business plan and getting things lined up and ready to go, and was eventually able to make that full transition to being a successful small business owner. And that is so important to all of us as Americans, all of us, that we have that opportunity. Again, it's not a promise that we have success, but an opportunity. And President Trump, as our president, and me being a small business owner while he was president, I was so compelled to fight for his re-election in 2020 that I did put aside some family time when I got done taking care of my affairs. And my son and I, my oldest son and I, would go out and knock doors for President Trump. 4 years ago, I was a happy volunteer. I see people out here in the crowd today who are volunteers. Beware. You might find yourself one day running for United States Senate too. But it was so worth fighting for what President Trump did for us, the way that he led for us. He couldn't guarantee a success, but he could help create a pathway for it. We saw him cut taxes. We saw him lower those energy costs. We saw optimism in our community. And what we have now is a story of all the wrong things going up and the right things going down. Our unemployment rate now here in Nevada is the second highest in the nation. Our housing costs are off the chart. The interest rates have gone so high that if I had to buy my home today that I bought 6 years ago, guys, I couldn't afford it. And I know a lot of you are in that same position. We have a number of people coming across this border illegally has gone through the roof. Criminals that have come across this border, including those who have committed murders, over 13,000. But what's been going down? Our take-home pay, the number of kids who can actually play sports. As I go through the community and I talk to folks, I've got parents who stop me and say, you know, we can no longer afford to even have our kids play sports. There's teachers who've told me they can't even send kids home with homework on paper because they can't afford the ink and the paper to send the kids home to be able to continue their education at home. The wrong things are going down. But while Jackie Rosen has been our senator, while she's voted 98% of the time with Biden and Harris, her net worth has gone up 61%. Can you imagine if your net worth had gone up 61% under the policies of this administration? And so let me tell you, there's people in your life that challenge you to be the best version of yourself. There's a couple in this room today. Congressman Wesley Hunt right here. He was an upperclassman of mine at West Point. He may have given me a hard time here or there, but he challenged me to be the best version of myself, to become the leader that I was able to grow into being. I see Pastor Jimmy Morales over here as well. He's challenged me to be the best version of myself, even throwing me behind the pulpit with 20 minutes notice to give us an entire sermon to his church one day. But President Trump, you challenge us all to be the best version of ourselves. President Trump, I have seen courage under fire. I have had to lead troops into the heart of fire. I have survived the very fire itself. And I found hope, frankly, when I had lost the will to live. When someone came running to me and they screamed out, "Sir, I've got you." There was nothing I could do for myself at that moment. But that action, it wasn't just words, it was action that saved my life. And President Trump, you represent not just words, but action to save the lives and provide hope for so many today. One last thing to the women here today and who are seeing this at home, like my wife, like the wonderful First Lady, like so many of you moms and grandmas and sisters here, you will determine the outcome of this election. My wife challenged me to run. She said, "Sam, I know the man you are. President Trump needs you to back him up in the Senate." You women here today, you will determine this election. So let your voice be heard. Get out there, get your family to vote, get your neighbors to vote, get your children to vote, and let's provide President Trump the backup he needs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Brown. Well, we're all here to hear from these 6 great Hispanic Americans and to hear from their stories. I would like Lydia Dominguez to share your story with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you to America's Future Tour for having me here. Thank you, Mr. President, for having me. It's a true honor to share my story, and my story echoes so many Latinos around the nation. I was born in Mexico and raised as an infant in the United States. And my mom is a high school graduate. My dad made it to the 6th grade. As he was a construction worker, and when I was 12, he passed away from cancer because of all the chemicals he had been exposed to as a farmer and construction worker. At the age of 14, I proudly became an American citizen, and and you know, I continued, and at the age of 16 and 19, I had both of my kids, and they're right there in the stadium, right there, wave. Yeah. I'm so proud of them. I had both my boys at 16 and 19. So I decided to join the Air Force, and I joined proudly because I had grown up with a sense of service and sense of wanting to do more in my country. Under your administration, I was able to afford a home. I was able to buy my first home and save money, and it was the first time I'd been able to get ahead. And feeling like I'd always been behind, your administration was at the point where I was able to get ahead. Under the Biden administration, I was forced to take the COVID-19 vaccine, and I refused as a religious accommodation, and I was honorably discharged. And with that, most of my savings dwindled under the Biden-Harris economy, and I had found myself having to work 2 jobs, having to do rideshare and having to do graphic designing to make ends meet at that point. I was raised in a Democratic household. My values remained consistent. Mr. President, you were the first Republican president I voted for in 2016. I had never seen anyone articulate the way you did how great this country is and how much it's worth fighting for. You saw what it really was, and you want to protect it. Despite the economic struggles after leaving the Air Force, I decided to remain committed to my commitment of service, and now I'm running for Clark County School Board. And my story echoes so many other Hispanics. My mom had said, we're a Democrat because we're poor, and the Republicans are rich, so we're not rich, so we're Democrat. And you know, even at a young age, I thought, but I want to be rich someday. How do I get there? And one of the things that resonates that a lot of Latinos experienced as well as I did is, and I'll say it in Spanish first, is my grandma would say, "Mija, te pueden quitar tu carro, te pueden quitar tu dinero en la banco, te pueden quitar tu casa, pero nunca te pueden quitar que está en tu mente." And she said, they can always take away your car, they can take away the money in your bank account, they can take away your house, but they can never take away what's in your mind. And so education was so important to me. Yeah, and I hold that with my children. I hold that in my community of service. And Mr. President, I support you 100%, and I know my Latino community, my Latino family supports you, and we have been struggling so hard under this Biden economy. We are under a Democratic diet right now, and I am tired of being on that diet.
Thank you very much. Great job. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Lydia, for sharing your story. Mr. President, Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party do not believe in parental rights. What do you say to parents like Lydia with their concerns?
Well, it is so, and you look at the school boards, what's happening. They're being treated like terrorists. I've never seen anything like it. And who would think that when I make speeches, if you would go back 10 years, you'd never even think, but you say, I stand for parental rights. Who would think you have to say that? You know, Bob, when that becomes a major portion of what you have to do, we're going to stick up for the parents, in other words, that they could come and take your child and do things to your child that nobody can believe they're allowed to do. Nobody can even believe it. And no, we're for parental rights. We're going to get those parental rights back stronger than ever before. Right?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have another amazing story coming from Brian Ursua. Please share with us your story.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to share how grateful I am to be here. And it's such an honor to be sitting here at the same table with President Trump. So,
Thank you, Brian.
yeah, I just want to start off by saying that I'm just a blue-collared, hard-working man. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And what's important to me is your proposal on the no tax on overtime. I work in the trade show industry here in Las Vegas. I'm a Teamster journeyman and a steward, union steward, and we work very long hours. Most of the time our overtime hours surpass our regular hours. And your proposal would help the Teamsters out tremendously, as well as other hardworking citizens. When you were in office, me and my wife, we had a pretty nice savings account. But with this current administration, my savings have been depleted. My wife and I have noticed what we used to spend on groceries for a family of 6. It's the same amount that we spend on just the 2 of us. We're empty nesters, and we're proud of all our adult children. They've all moved out, and all of our children have roommates. They are unable to afford even renting on their own, not to mention buying a home. Right. I remember when you were in office, the economy was booming. I knew a lot of people that were able to come out from underneath the government's thumb. I was able to introduce my friends to our real estate agent, and they were able to achieve the American dream. They were able to buy a home. Life was good when you were in office, and you didn't hear people yelling, defund the police. We had safe communities. Our country was safe. When you were in office, you showed your strength and achieved peace through strength with other countries. Your leadership trickled down into our communities, and we respected authority in one another. We need secure borders. Without borders, you have no country. And with the flood of illegal immigrants, this administration has no plan, with no structure. And with no structure, you're bound to have chaos. And that makes for a perfect plan to distract the American public and to change the world into the world that we're living in today. These are the conversations we talk about at work. These are real people. I work with a lot of people of different nationalities and backgrounds, and I respect everyone's opinion. But I'm telling you, the majority of all the people that I talk to want you back in office. Us common folk just want peace, and we don't want to send billions of dollars abroad. We want America and Americans to come first. We want secure borders, safe cities, safety for our children, a better economy, and a better president than the one we've had to tolerate for the last 4 years. I believe in divine intervention, and I believe God protected you that day of that attempted assassination. And I truly do believe that the Lord isn't finished using you yet. You have a purpose here. Promises made, promises kept. I went to so many rallies of yours, and I can still hear you saying that. And I remember keeping your word. We love you, Mr. Trump. Keep doing what you do best, and run this country the way that this country needs to be led.
Thank you, Brian.
Trump 2024.
Thank you, Brian. Very nice.
Brian, you have an incredible story. Thank you for sharing. Mr. President, you have gotten a lot of support from unions, from Teamsters like Brian.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, we know what's going to happen. Just as I was saying, unions are going to be very affected by all these people coming in, and we have no idea who they are, where they come from. We know nothing about them. They're unvetted, they're unchecked, and they're by the millions, and they're going to affect your Teamsters. And you know, the Teamsters, as you know, the rank and file voted last week nationally, and I know you did locally, and I appreciate it. And I respect the Teamsters. I've used Teamsters to do a lot of buildings, the concrete, you know, they trucked it in, and I never had a problem. They're great. But we had a tremendous vote. Over 60% of the Teamsters voted, which was unheard of because it never happened before to a Republican. So If I were a Democrat, I would add 105%, I think, based on that. But I know how hard you work, and I really appreciate your words, Brian, and you'll be very happy. You do have to be careful, and I told Sean O'Brien, you know Sean O'Brien, he's the boss, and he's great man. He's head of the Teamsters. I said, you have to be careful because you have people coming in by the millions, and many are not people that are supposed to be in this country, and they're going to be stealing your jobs, taking your jobs, and you're going to have a lot of, you're going to have turmoil. You're going to have tremendous turmoil, and it's not fair to the people that have been here and great citizens and worked hard. So you see it happening already. It is happening, and it's happening right now, so we have to be careful. But that was beautiful. Thank you, Brian, very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mr. President. Now let's hear from our small business owner, Elias Trujillo.
Well, I'm so honored to be here today. Never in my life did I see myself being here amongst any of you guys, or having this opportunity. But I guess this was what America is, right? Everybody has the opportunity to do something. I come from an immigrant family. Back in '95, my parents came out to the U.S., landed in Utah. I have two brothers. We came here legally, but we overstayed, and we were able to make life here in the United States. And my it is funny. Parents came out to Las Vegas back in '99, so I consider myself from the Vegas community. Been here 25 plus years, done life here, did school and everything, And in my head, I always had the legal status, holding over my head, because you're somewhat limited to what you can do, to how much you can accomplish. And never let it get to me, and I realized I had to move past it, and make the best of my life, because I didn't choose to be here, but my parents felt it was a better opportunity for the family and for us as kids. So I became to love, being out here in the U.S. Went through high school and everything, completed all of my school like I was supposed to, and didn't see myself continuing studying or pursuing any sort of career. But I knew deep inside that I could be an entrepreneur. I could, break barriers and create something without the help of anyone, or, And as I had that on my mind, I continued living life. And shortly right after high school, I met my beautiful wife, who's sitting down there, supporting like always. We have two kids, 12 years old and a 5-year-old. And in the midst of Trump's presidency is when I decided to go with entrepreneurship, build my first business, create more time for my family, better resources, income for my family, better future. I saw the opportunities as your presidency was on. I wasn't fully supportive when you ran for the first time. I learned to support and really see your path and how you were trying to guide us through a better future. Things were great up until COVID, I believe, is when things started to stall for our family, and like it did for everyone. I think it put a stall on our life in pursuing the dream that we were seeking of having our own business, generating wealth and a greater future for our family. So COVID shut down the business that we were starting, which was in the catering business, food truck. And in the midst of 2020, when things stalled, we said we got to continue. We cannot sit back and wait for someone to come save us or help us, So we went out and opened up a restaurant. In the midst of all the COVID regulations, all the changes that had happened, inflation, things started to change at that point, and we battled through. We're not thriving as we should. I think this last 4 years have been very difficult for small businesses, especially in the food industry, cost of goods, labor, all of the things that have changed, that weren't the same. So we've been able to still stay afloat, pushing to try to open more locations to generate more revenue, to be able to still grow. But there's obviously limitations to what we can do, what's in our hands, our control. One thing that you guys have mentioned, Hispanics, they don't give up. They find a way. We try. We make it happen as much as we can, and I've done it many times, and I've had to do it many times. But I'm happy with the opportunity that Trump has again to run and hopefully get us back on track. I think there's room to make America greater. Some of the policies that you're proposing or that you've said, like the taxes on tips, services, things like that. I mean, I've worked jobs where people solely live off tips. That's majority of their income, and then it gets eaten out by their job because of the taxes and all that stuff. When it's money that they're earned and should rightfully go to them. So I think this is the beginning of the start for changing laws that can benefit the communities more, can benefit Hispanics, and not just Hispanics, but in general population. I think there's many changes that need to be made. We need to come back to the nuclear of our family. Our soul of the country should be based on that. The love of our family, the love for our children. Them trying to maintain their sanctity, their holiness as long as we can. That's the future that we have, and we can't let ideas, people influence that. They're precious. So I believe we need to get back to that. I feel confident that you're on that page. You want that for the nation. You want that for people who have a belief in a higher power, a greater God. And if they don't, they should also be willingness and hopeful for a better future for their kids. Everyone should want the best for them. So there's many things that I think can be changed, and I don't foresee this current administration making those changes or taking us to a better future. I believe you are the best fit for helping us get there, and I hope that you can sit and share again.
Thank you very much. Beautiful. Very good. Thank you very much. Very nice.
Thank you, Elias. And I agree with you. I believe that the Hispanic values are what's going to save this country. I want to talk about the tax, no tax on tips. I was a server for many years. I understand the struggle of not wanting to report all the tips because we knew that we're going to get taxed. Mr. President, are you going to get the no tax on tips signed into law?
Yeah, I think we will. We had tremendous enthusiasm in Congress for it, even on both sides. They said that was a good idea. Nobody ever thought of it. I have another one. I was in Detroit the other day, and I said we're going to have deductibility of interest on car purchases, and the place went crazy. And top people on Wall Street, two top people, like the top people, when did you ever come up with that idea? And it was something that I just felt we have to bring back our car industry. We have other things even beyond that to bring it back, actually, but that was something. So we have the ideas with the no tax on tips. I was at my building, and a waitress came up, and she was complaining about the way they're harassing her. I said, on what? She said, tips. I said, really? Well, really? I never heard of this. And they said, no, it's terrible. They're actually passing new legislation to go after people on tips. I mean, really deep stuff. So I said, what do you think of the idea of no tax on tips? Because it just seems like very hard money to get for the government. And, maybe you should be entitled. And also, I think a big thing could be for you, but it could be for a lot of the people. You work overtime, no tax on overtime. And I think that's going to be good for the country. More people are going to work overtime. So we have these things. We'll get them done, and we'll get them approved in Congress. I've gotten pretty much everything I've wanted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, we want to hear from these three Hispanic Americans as well. We have a few minutes, but Ms. Linda Fornos would like to hear your story as well.
Thank you. It's a really honor for me to be here.
Thank you.
It's my third time sharing with you, Mr. Trump. And now I want to tell about my story. I'm an immigrant Latina who came from Nicaragua 16 years ago. I'm raised by two beautiful women, my mother and my grandma, who taught me values and taught me you have to fight for what you really want. You have to stand. You have to fight for your criteria and your opinion. And that's why I'm here. When I came to this beautiful country, I did things in the right way. And I have worked really hard raising my 3 kids. Actually, one of my kids, he was invited to be here part of the panel, but he couldn't because he told me, Mom, it's my dream to meet Mr. President Trump, but if I go with him and I miss work, I'm going to be short in my paycheck. My paycheck. That is how sad it is, our economical situation, that we had to work really hard. In my house, we have 3 people working, 3 salaries, and having 2 jobs in order to support our economy in our house. And it's not just me, it's all the community, the Hispanic, that they are facing the same situation. What is frustrating is how Democrats who stands for Hispanic, that's what they say. We are here for Latino people. And I ask to everyone what they have done to us. Nothing. They have done nothing. And that's one of the reasons why the Latino community now stands for you, Mr. Trump. That's why they are supporting you and they want you back. It's not time to regret, because many people, they vote for Democrats, as I did. But now, I'm standing here, and I'm standing for all others who wants to be part of your team, who wants to be part of this American dream. And believe me, they are waiting for you to hold your hand, and they have the faith that you are going to bring America again, as we are dreaming to have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda.
Go ahead, please.
Iris Ramos Jones, we would love to hear your story. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is an honor to be here with you today. I am a first-generation immigrant from Ecuador. I came to this country 11 years ago and became a citizen when you were president 5 years ago. Came with nothing, without being able to speak the language, and without knowing anybody here. And today, I'm sitting here with Mr. President Trump. Cameron, that's my daughter. When you and Mommy used to sleep on that mattress on the floor, I never thought this was going to be possible. This is only possible here in America.
Amen.
And that is why you got to defend this country until the end. And that's why you have to love this country unapologetically, as I do. There is only one America. Do not take it for granted. The ones that have come from different countries know how bad it can be. How bad it can be if we do not defend our freedom. How bad it can be when they want to silence us. How bad it can be when we lose our rights. And when we do not defend our values. Values that were taught by our parents and our abuelitas. I'm proud to be part of a community that work hard every day. People of faith, people that in today's economy are suffering. They have to have 2 or 3 jobs to meet their needs. We immigrant Hispanics have already made the sacrifices by leaving our countries, leaving our families, leaving everything that we know behind. We have nothing to lose, and we do see this country with a lot of hope, hope that you gave us, and that we hope to restore it. We're willing to learn and embrace those opportunities because we are survivors. We take risk. We get things done when we do have the opportunities, but unfortunately, opportunities in today's America are lost. In the last 4 years, they have proved that they want to divide and bully those who don't think like them. They know the power of Latinos, and they are only using us for political purposes. In the last 4 years, they have proved that they do not care about us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Iris. Mr. President, really quick, what do you say to those who immigrated here to this country the right way? What do you say to those people that are here in this country?
So you have a lot of people that came in and they went through 10, 12 years of work, and I think they're being very unfairly treated. They've worked so hard, and they're so proud, and they love the country. And we have people coming in, many people coming in and do a good job, and many people shouldn't be on that line because they're dangerous people. We have a lot of dangerous people. And we're going to take care. We want, just so we understand, we want to have strong borders, but we want people to come into our country legally, and it'll happen. We're going to have a lot of people come in, but they're going to come in legally, and that's the way it has to be done. We all know that. I think everybody knows that around the table.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rafael Arroyo, would you please share your story with us as well?
Yes, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Mr. President, for doing this and taking the time out to talk to the Hispanic community. So I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I moved here. We got some Puerto Ricans back there, and I moved here when I was 6 with my family, and I started my business in 2008, right in the middle of a recession, as they say. 23 years old. My business is called Smog Plus DMV Services, and we do emissions testing here in town, and then we go to the DMV for people that are working or they don't have the chance to go because they're out there providing for their families. And I know everybody also loves going to the DMV, right? It's the favorite place. So, but about 2 months after I started my business, I had a detective come in, gun and a badge and everything. He said, "Hey, you can't really do this business." And that was my first interaction with government as a business owner. And that's when I learned, if you don't get involved with government, the government's going to get involved with you. And a couple of back and forth for a few months, and eventually said, "You know what? You're right. The law doesn't say that you can't do this business." So I was able to continue, but instead of encouraging innovation, the default government position is usually to shut it down. So as I continued over the years, I dealt with obstacle after obstacle, policies that weren't business friendly, regulations that didn't make any sense. At one point I had a meeting with some government officials, and they said, "We're going to make this policy change, and if you don't like it, change the law." So I had to get involved. I got involved with state legislators, and it took me 1 year and 4 months, but eventually we changed the law. And,
Thank you, Rafael.
So, I'm not a person who complains and just stands around, right? I put myself out there to fight for what's right, and I really care about our state and all my fellow small business owners and all my Hispanic community. And I know from firsthand experience how important it is to have elected officials that understand business and care about encouraging growth. And I feel like we have a governor here, and Governor Lombardo, who stresses that Nevada is open for business. And but the issue is he's going to need help. And today, for me, some parts that are critical to my business are double and triple the price than they were 4 years ago. And Mr. President, I know you're a businessman. You know how hard that is to see costs double and triple, and what that does to your bottom line, what that does to your employees, what that does to your customers. And as a Hispanic business owner, father of 4, my family's right over there, sitting down. And, it's tough right now. It's really tough right now. And what I'm doing is I'm paying attention to the policies, and I'm not paying attention to the media hype. And I recommend that everybody else do the same. And, the issues that really affect us are gas prices, groceries, the cost of supplies, because at the end of the day, we just want to provide for our families. So, Mr. President, I want to know what can be done to, as an elected official at the federal level, to deal with this inefficiency in government, this bureaucracy that small business owners have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And, thank you again for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, and it's a great story, actually, but big thing with you is going to be the cost of energy, very big thing, and we're going to get that down by 50% within the first years. We have, I say it all the time, more liquid gold. You've heard me say it, oil and gas. We have more than any other country in the world, including Saudi Arabia, including Russia, and we don't use it to the extent that we can. And the problem is your prices are too high. I mean, it's not a question of inflation anymore. They've already done the damage. The damage has been done. You have things that are costing 50, 60, 70% more than they were 3 years ago. And we're going to get your energy costs down by 50% within the first 12 months. And when that happens, everything's going to follow it. And I think you're going to be in very good shape. Very good story, though. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kamala Harris is telling Hispanic Americans that Mr. President is against us. Clearly, he's for us. And it's going to take all of us to rise up and speak up. We will give President Trump the biggest win in November. But it's going to take all of us to rise up, get out to vote. I want y'all to act like we're 50 points down. We got to get our friends and family out to vote. This is the most important election of our lifetime. The future of our children, the future of our grandchildren is in your hands. I believe in the American dream. Not only am I the American dream, so are you. You are the American dream, and the American dream is worth fighting for, but it's going to take all of you to rise up. This isn't just about us here in this table. It's about you as well. You need to take this election very personal, because the future of our country is at stake, and it's in your hands. So let's give President Trump the biggest win in November.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you very
President.
November 5th. Get
November
out and
5th.
vote.
Thank you,
We
Mr.
gotta vote.
President.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.